We've done this song and dance before, but let's once again quickly summarise the story of Queen Sindel from 1995 up to now. I have to keep doing this to get it through the writers and some of the fans' thick fucking skulls. The Queen of Edenia and mother of Kitana, Sindel was forced to marry Shao Kahn after he killed her husband Jared and annexed her realm. In grief, she committed suicide. 10,000 years later, she was resurrected by Shang Tsung and placed under mind control to be the linchpin of Khan's MK3 invasion plot. She was saved by Kitana and restored to the throne of Edenia. She then sought to save Kitana when their roles were reversed thanks to Onaga in deception. Finally, she fought in the Battle of Armageddon as a good guy, ultimately laying down her life to protect her realm from the forces of darkness. In a way, she's like Theoden from Lord of the Rings, a noble monarch who is introduced while possessed by dark forces until they are liberated by the heroes and ultimately laying down their life in battle with the forces of evil. In MK 2011, which altered events from MK1 onward through time travel and earlier events through retcons, Sindel's death was a noble sacrifice to protect Earthrealm. Quan Chi then revived her and placed her under mind control to have her shut her ward off, and she massacred the heroes, dying in the process and becoming an undead slave of Quan Chi. She remained in this state for the duration of MKX and was absent from MK11, but Geras assured us she still loved Kitana.
Sindel cared for you above all else.
Unfortunately, thanks to Sindel only being portrayed in her brainwashed form, many of the newer fans believed she was just evil, so with her announcement as a DLC character in MK11, NetherRealm had the perfect opportunity to fix that by using her intros and ending to highlight the kind of person Sindel truly is. Things didn't look good early on with the leaks and the official bio that suggested her personality was being retconned to make her willingly pure evil. I voiced my concerns in a video and received no end to fanboy retorts, the most intelligent of which said that it was only a leak and that it could be false or subject to change. Fair and reasonable, right? But let's address some of the less intellectual responses I received last time. 1. I like this Sindel better. That subjective opinion is irrelevant in the face of my objective criticism of poor continuity. 2. It doesn't matter as long as she plays well. Another subjective take, and a bad one at that. Everything about her is informed by her personality and story, including her intros and even some of her moves. I'll even show you a quote later proving they wanted to make her feel more cohesive on every level. These retcons do matter even if you only care about the gameplay. 3. Sindel has more agency now. What, because she was mind controlled one time and then sought to save her daughter and people from then on, actively taking part in stopping crises that threaten them despite being the monarch? She has no agency, does she? But somehow becoming a selfish murderer who hates her daughter means she now has more agency? I know you're not saying she now has agency because she was never mind controlled, because she still was across the entire current timeline even with the new retcons, because Quan Chi killed her now, so he had to control her to stop her from attacking him upon reviving her, and then she became a revenant, spending 2 full games being controlled compared to just 1 in the old timeline. Sorry, but you're just wrong. 4. She just thinks that's what happened. Why would her bio not say that then? Her 2011 bio did. 5. She's just brainwashed to be like this. Why would the Revenant Sindel, her default form, be made to love Shao Kahn if her sole purpose is to serve Shinnok? This one could still be accurate though, given that the base roster Revenants don't have Revenant-based intros either. 6. She's from another timeline. The only time alternate timelines are used in that way is in mirror matches. Outside of that, the game is purely about the past and present of a single timeline converging, and you'd know that if you hadn't missed the dialogue in the trailer because you cried out in ecstasy upon seeing MK2's Scorpion. 7. Intros aren't canon. Maybe not, but they inform characterization just as any given non-canon ending does. Tanya didn't canonically get Liu Kang killed in MK4, but that ending is how her treachery was conveyed to us. If we get conflicting information like who out of Khan, D'Vorah and Sindel killed Jared, or whether or not Sindel loves Kitana, then what is even the point of including them? They could save a ton of time and money by going back to standard intros like 2011 had. 8. You can't tell NetherRealm what to do with their characters. How is a person supposed to be able to get invested in a character or setting when random details are subject to change for the most shallow and flaccid of reasons? And do you really consider writers who only became involved in the series over a decade and a half after Sindel's debut as having any ownership of her? 9. You should be grateful she's here at all after you asked for her. If you hired someone to fix your plumbing and they fucked up so bad that your house started flooding, you'd be well within your rights to sock someone for saying you're not allowed to complain because you asked the plumber to do it in the first place. Absolute cretin. 10. It doesn't matter because everything is getting rebooted anyway. I've said this before, but this portrayal will inform people's views of Sindel until her next appearance at least 4 years from now. And if these writers carry over to that game, or new writers without experience with the older games take over, they're likely to keep her like this going forward. Honestly, looking at pre-release material, the best we could have hoped for was that she was just possessed by the Banshee spirit she materializes sometimes. Hell, one of her intros looks a lot like the Banshees entering her body and taking over. But alas, the only potentially interesting explanation was passed off for something dumber. But you know, with NetherRealm's new progressive design ethos, one would think they would have made Sindel's story one of an abuse victim rising above her trauma and overcoming the one who hurt her, rather than presenting her and her abuser as a power couple. Think about that. Sindel originally fucking killed herself because being married to Shao Kahn was so horrible. But now let's make them a power couple? Are you mad? This is about on par with Dynasty Warriors 9 presenting Xiaoji as being in love with the man who abducted her as a child in real life. Once again, in their attempt to be progressive, NetherRealm fucks up so bad they become regressive. Good job, guys. People often say that I'm too hard on NetherRealm, and I genuinely worried that that was the case. So I have tried to be more lenient with them, give them the benefit of the doubt, and go out of my way to point out the good things they do. But every time I do, they give me more and more reasons to tell them all to get fucked. 21st of April, I release 11 good things in MK11. 23rd of April, MK11 releases with its god-awful story, ending, and grindy mobile game structure. 6th of June, following the release of her official bio supporting early leaks about her new characterization, I release how Mortal Kombat 11 is ruining Sindel and give the writers the benefit of the doubt that they're just ignorant of Sindel's true nature and have a chance to fix her by release. 14th of November, Sindel's trailer releases and NetherRealm begins posting clips that support the leaks and suggest nothing has changed. I continue to hope that Sindel's ending will expose the truth, even though it won't change people's perceptions because her intros are more prominent than her ending. 21st of November. I ask co-writer Sean Kittleson on Twitter to explain the motivation behind the change, or to at least reassure us that there's more to this than there seems. He supports the latter being the case and says he's proud of what the team have accomplished with Sindel here. Also 21st of November, certain influencers have Sindel early and release her ending on YouTube. The ending begins with Sindel recounting the death of Jared as it was originally told, only to then reveal it was all a lie and that she helped kill him. She then dominates the realms and beats up Kitana. Oh, and Quan Chi killed her and covered it up, so I have no idea whether or not her ward is now considered a lie. So, Mr. Kittleson, why did you lie to me? Where is the nuance in this one-dimensional female clone of Shao Kahn? What about completely inverting a strong, compassionate character into an avaricious, overly lustful arsehole are you so fucking proud of? In the past, I've tried not to call out specific individuals because it seems needlessly harsh, but I'm done playing nice. I came to Sean asking respectfully for clarification and reassurance because it seemed that he and co-writer Dominic Cianciolo were taking one of my favourite MK characters and ruining her. And then he lied directly to me about this, claiming that the team really put a lot of care and thought into her portrayal. I heard from a friend with contacts inside NetherRealm that Dominic was Sindel's writer, but I have no proof of this and he never replied to my tweet anyway while Sean lied, so I'm probably going to be harsher with the latter than the former, even if the former actually is more culpable here. At first, I did assume Sean and Dom simply didn't understand the character, that they perhaps only experienced the last 2 games and based their understanding of her on her brainwashed self. You know, it wasn't that they were intentionally changing her, but instead that they just didn't understand her. After all, her design wasn't as straightforward and shallow as a lot of the more modern additions to the roster. Sindel looked and fought like the standard evil queen, but was revealed to be a good person who loved her daughter and her people. She was a subversion of that generic trope, you can't judge a book by its cover. Unfortunately, the current creative team did not get the message because, according to senior QA analyst Stephanie Brownback,
there was always, in my opinion, a disconnect between the way she looked and played and acted in gameplay and the lore.
You know, in the series where the main character is a murderous Shaolin monk and where husband and wife Johnny and Sonya brutalize each other and their child. You'd think these guys would have known the change would be controversial and would have a better excuse lined up. And I thought Steve Barron's excuses were bad. But because of this asinine notion, they wanted her personality to match her design. So they looked at her and saw an evil older woman in skimpy attire and decided Sindel should thus be a horny evil skank who murdered her own husband. After After all, NetherRealm's design is just getting more mature and respectful, especially towards women, like all the sexual slavery threats made towards Cassie Cage, or Jax's entire character being boiled down to black man. Stephanie also presented this as if it's just new context to reveal a truth that's always been there and not a retcon.
And this is not some kind of shenanigan. This is the real lore, and it's a pretty big for Sindel. It's a very new interpretation of her personality. And
that's exciting.
No, it's a retcon. Sindel was a benevolent queen once she was restored in the old timeline, never abusing her power or people, and sought to save Kitana for personal reasons and not just to help her get her power back from Onaga. Numerous bios and endings have made it clear she was being forced to be evil and truly desired to keep her daughter and people safe. Quan Chi called Sindel one of Raiden's allies back in MKX, where she also told Cassie about being reunited with Kitana in death, which is an odd thing for an uncaring mother to say. And Geras would probably know the truth about Sindel, and he says she loved Kitana. Guys, again, you must have known people would be angry about this, and you had months to come up with a better excuse than this. I mean, Christ, when MK Annihilation is portraying characters more accurately and has a more cohesive and satisfying plot than your MK work, you have officially done something very wrong. I am done giving NetherRealm the benefit of the doubt and trying to appease their mindless fanboys. The people in charge at NetherRealm do not respect this franchise, its characters, its story, or its fans. They make this clear with their willingness to completely rewrite long-established plot points and character personalities because they think they know better than the people who've been with this franchise for over a decade, as well as their brazen willingness to openly lie to the fans about the bullshit they're peddling. In the Twitter thread, someone told Sean to step down from his position, and I thought that was a bit harsh. But in light of the Kombat cast and the final product, I think he should. I'm not saying he should lose his job, of course. He can work on Injustice 3 since it's clear that the writers have far more respect for DC characters than MK ones, but he should not be involved in writing for MK ever again. Even when his writing is not blatantly inaccurate or openly disrespectful, it's generally low quality and unbearably cringeworthy. If this series ever hopes to have a chance of having a good story again, it needs to move Sean and Dominic onto other projects and bring someone else in. Someone who actually cares about the world they are working with and views it as an honour and a passion project instead of any other boring job assignment. I'd like to close by bringing your attention to Sindel's Deception ending. It's not canon, but it's still relevant to her characterization. Back then, endings consisted of 2 CG images accompanied by narration from either Raiden or Shujinko. Sindel was the exception. Her ending featured 3 images. The team felt the resolution of Sindel's storyline here was important enough to warrant an additional image to properly depict her discovery of Onaga's coffin, her successful dispatching of the villain, and her tearful reunion with her now freed daughter. And I'd like you to just take a minute to take in that last image. This one frame depicting a tear rolling down Sindel's cheek as she holds her daughter close displays more character than all of MK11's god-awful intros for her combined. And nowhere in this image is there any indication that Sindel secretly is just using Kitana as a tool and actually does not care about her at all. This is the real Sindel. Do not believe the lies NetherRealm are feeding you with this, the latest in a long line of character assassinations they've pulled off with the current timeline. Spread the word and make sure NetherRealm knows we are not happy and we will not fucking stand for this anymore. If you guys want to show support for something less offensive than this tripe, consider that Soul Calibur 6 will be releasing its own rebooted royal female fighter, Hilda, on the same day as Sindel's Kombat Pack release. Please support the one you think is handled in the more appropriate manner, because I certainly know which one I'm going to support.